Hi, this is Jason here at RoofSnap,
Hi, and I'm Katrina.
and welcome to our spring live webinar.
That's right.
We used
Spring
to,
is here, finally.
well,
Well, kind of.
it's late winter, I guess, if we're being
Yeah,
fair, and
yeah.
we still have snow on the ground here in Columbus, Ohio.
Sad.
We used to do these webinars monthly,
Mm-hmm.
and well, what do you think, Katrina? Are we just too busy these days?
No.
What have we been busy doing this spring? What always brings us to crunch time every spring?
Getting to see our customers face to face via trade shows.
Yeah, we've been to the International Roofing Expo in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big show.
Yep, that was a good time.
If you've never gone, there are thousands of vendors, tens of thousands of attendees in a trade show, exhibition, convention center. Really, that's 5 airplane hangars in size. It's just enormous.
It is.
And Nashville, of course, was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Katrina, what's the most fun thing you did while in Nashville?
Well, personally, it was to go to my favorite shoe store. I've got to go to the Fry store not once, but twice in Nashville.
Fair
so.
enough. Some of our team hit up the Grand Ole Opry, and the restaurants were amazing. I really enjoyed Nashville. Not a big country music person myself. Nothing against, but really enjoyed it. Did not recognize Nashville to be as cool as it was.
Yeah.
And then we had back-to-back shows. So we landed in Columbus. We were here for like 3 days, and that was the weekend for the most part. And then just hopped right on out to Vegas.
That's right.
What did we do out there?
Well, we went to the Storm Ventures Group show, so that is always a good time. Lots of learning opportunities, really at both shows.
Absolutely.
Lots of breakout sessions, lots of really good content and industry communication. So it's always really fruitful and educational, whether you're a vendor or an attendee.
My favorite part is that we get to meet our customers. So many people who use RoofSnap. Getting to meet you all face to face at some of these shows is a real treat. We handle the support phone calls, and we help new customers learn the software, and we get a little tunnel vision sometimes. We don't understand the breadth, how broad of a usage that RoofSnap has sometimes, and those who use it daily and who've mastered it don't really call. They don't need any questions answered.
That's right.
But then when they see us at the shows and they leave testimonials, and we'll be uploading some new video testimonials soon from some of our oldest customers and power users, you might say. It gives us a really good feeling.
Yeah, of
That
course.
we're helping a lot of people in the industry to save time and to be more efficient, and really, not that it's our mission statement per se. RoofSnap has recognized that you will always need a physical inspection. You have to see the damage. You have to assess the leak. You have to identify the layers and just the treatment, the solution. For whatever that customer's need is. And while the inspection is still necessary, RoofSnap will allow you to spend much less time on the roof, much more time on the ground with the customer, and that's good for business, and that's good for safety.
Yeah.
And we like that. We like bringing a safety element to the industry. Keep you guys off of those steep slope roofs as much as possible.
For sure.
And to that effect, and with it being springtime, we always are releasing new features and new functionality. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yes. Yeah, it's exciting.
Katrina, why don't I go ahead and transition our stream here over to a view of the web app. Now, I know many of you are using RoofSnap. Actually, let's transition back for a second. We're still here. I know many of you will use RoofSnap on your mobile devices, and we have dedicated this spring and in the early parts of 2019 to making sure that we have what we call feature parity between our mobile platforms, which an iPhone or an iPad, most likely an iPad, is still the #1 device that our customers use.
Yeah.
But the adoption of our web app, which is this right here, is accessible by going to app.roofsnap.com and logging in. And I'll back out of this project here for a second. Probably should save those changes. Kind of come back to the main screen. The web app is great for anyone who's going to sketch the roof ahead of time, prepare an estimate from their laptop. Sales managers and production managers who are going to be, doing a lot more work on their computer as opposed to actually being on a mobile device out up on the roof itself. It's I don't know, Katrina, what do you think? Its adoption is definitely faster than any of our other platforms.
Yeah.
And it definitely serves its purpose. My preference, not that I'm still selling, but I used to do residential and commercial sales, would be to probably use the web app the night before and draw the roof if I know what my appointments are the next day. If I'm canvassing, then that's another story. But one of the new features that we have to show you today here in the web app is a part of that goal to bring feature parity between all platforms. So you may already be used to attaching pins with photos and notes to a drawing when you're using an iPad right on site.
Yep, I think that's fair.
And so what I want to show you here is that functionality as it exists now within the web app. So I'm going to go into this project, and I'm going to go right into the sketch scene here. And let's flip over into pins mode. And we can see we have our different pins categories.
And Jason, I have a question.
Yeah.
So with regard to pins, what would you say our customers' biggest use case is for utilizing these? So not only is it kind of accessory based, where you can sort of mark and denote where different penetrations are, but what would you say the biggest punchline is for the use of pins?
Pins combined with photos and notes is the ideal usage of pins, and it promotes the ability to create and document inspection information.
Definitely.
So damage, broken or old soil pipe boot flashing, issues around the chimney flashing, hail damage, high wind damage. So many of our customers use RoofSnap within a storm environment.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that functionality, inspecting for damage and actually getting those images and the information about that damage right onto your sketch report. I feel like, is that kind of what you were thinking too?
Definitely.
So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go into the general pins category, and here we have some pre-created pins that you can use for damage and inspection purposes. And let's just call out some hail damage on this roof. I'm going to drop that pin on this main slope, and then all I have to do is just click on that pin again, and I have the ability to upload an image. Now, you may be using a mobile device on site, and you can attach photos to this project from a mobile environment. However, maybe you have a process where you are uploading those images right back to a cloud or right back to your hard drive on your laptop. So being able to get them right from maybe your downloads folder, which is what I have connected here. Oh, you know what, Katrina, through the software here, it didn't show my folder.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so even though you guys can't see it through the screen share, when I clicked on the upload image button there, let's see, let me back out. Yeah, so when I click, oh, can they see my cursor?
You may not be able to, but it's
Oh,
that
I don't
giant
think they can
arrow
see.
in the cloud.
It's the giant arrow in the cloud. Well, we must have a setting off where you can't see my little mouse, my little mouse today. We'll get that fixed for next time. But what I'm doing is in my folder, I'm selecting an image that I have, and I'm opening it. There we go. And now you can see that
Right.
image has loaded here, and we can actually add some notes.
Another use case, I guess, is perhaps you are doing a lot of inspection work on a property, and maybe you've flown a drone on site or
And you've
something like
captured
that.
a bunch of drone images,
and
maybe?
you just want to assess everything, and when you get back to the office or wherever, have a chance to kind of digest all that information and come back in and add your pins with your notes and photos for, I don't know, communication with your crew or wherever this needs to go.
We have a lot of customers who have used RoofSnap on commercial properties where they'll be working with a property owner or a property management firm or company of some sort, and they'll have repair contracts in place, but they have to document the damage in order to get a PO, in order to get the money to, and so forth and so on.
Absolutely.
And they'll go, on a big, maybe a hospital roof or a university or just a complex of buildings that's commercial based, and drop a pin every place that they have damage and add a photo and a note about that. And that's what we're going to get to. We're going to show you how all of these photos, notos and photos, oh man, one of those weeks, how all that information appears on the sketch report. This second image that I'm uploading here doesn't really apply to this roof, but it's the other image I have. There's some skylight flashing issues here. I'm going to go ahead and attach that to an attention area pin. Skylight issues, and you could write in whatever you need to put here. Now, the other reason, of course, to use pins, and I'm just going to drop a few on here, would be to mark out where the plumbing boots are and, of course, what size they are. So there are actual items in here, and we've talked about pins before, so I won't go nuts, but I'm pretty sure there's a soil pipe boot there. And you know what? I don't see any other vents, but there are chimneys, so why don't we do one chimney flashing on this, actually 1, 2, 3, and maybe a fourth one there.
Nice.
There we go. All right, Katrina, should we jump over and show the sketch report, or should we draw in that front porch roof first and talk about some of the other features?
Oh, I'm so excited. I think we just have to go right into these other features and just show you all of it.
All right, when we go and create the sketch report, just remember all the pins, photos, and notes, we're going to be talking about those here in a few minutes. But before we jump over to that, let's zoom in on the roof. We're going to be focusing on this front porch section here.
There are some things that might look a little bit new and improved if you've used the web app before.
Yeah, I mean, so Edges mode looks like I'm used to seeing it.
Yeah.
But man, when I go into draw mode, I've got edges in draw mode.
I know.
Uh-oh.
This is the first time that we've kind of presented this.
This is brand new.
Yeah.
It's been out in the web app for, I don't know, a week or two.
Yeah, I think actually like a month.
Like a month?
Mid-January,
All
yeah.
right. So if you're using the web app every day, you've probably already discovered this, and we are going to show you all of the little features that you may not know about how this works. If you're used to drawing it yourself using RoofSnap, you probably are used to drawing all your lines yellow, and once you've completed areas or even the entire drawing, then you're going over into edges, selecting edge types, and then labeling them as needed. Well, we're going to save you some steps.
This was created for really as kind of a feature for our sketch team.
Yeah, we have technicians who draw for our sketch shows, which is our service. So if you're not a big fan of sketching it yourself, you can pay us about $15 on average for your typical residential, and we'll draw it.
Yeah.
Well, we want to be as efficient internally as possible, and in doing so, we've created some tools that we've also given to you. What I'm going to do is change the label manually over to Eve, and let's say we want some subline labels as well. Now, when I draw a line, it is whatever edge type I have just defined as I draw it.
Yes. And you have some control over what exactly you're showing and displaying here in this view. So we've selected Eve with Ice and Water Shield in the Eve Edge category. But on that right-hand menu, you'll notice that the line length we've chosen to show, we can turn that off or on, and the line labels we can also show as we're drawing this out. So if we want to know all the information as we're drawing it, we can see it. If we don't, if we want to know that it's labeled, but we don't need to see it as we're drawing, we have some flexibility now.
Yep, and I recommend turning them off and on as of course if it's obscuring the information that you need to see. But we put it right up here with 90 mode, and of course I do recommend leaving 90 mode on as much as possible, unless you're dealing with a roof that just has sections that aren't square.
Yeah.
So drawing this line in, well, Eve is still labeled, and in another. Thought I put my phone on Do Not Disturb there.
Whoops.
That's embarrassing.
Well, little technical difficulties on a live webinar. It wouldn't be a true live webinar.
RoofSnap live webinar if it wasn't for some technical difficulties.
You know, I'm glad we're just real people.
All right, so Katrina, I'm gonna have to fix the camera.
Yep. We're just playing my lap. Sorry, guys. All right. That's looking better. Angle that up just a little bit more, Jason. A little over.
Am I getting close?
We're a little crooked, but I think our viewers will be okay.
Does that look all right?
Yeah, looking better.
Jeez. You know, we got the microphone set up. That was tested. We got the camera set up. That looked good.
Just forgot the old
well,
Do Not Disturb.
I made sure. No, I made sure to put it on Do Not Disturb and Don't Fall Asleep.
Oh, yes. Good.
But yeah, as it turns out, it was still able to take a phone call. Nobody calls me anymore. All my information comes in via text message.
I know.
Right?
Interesting. Who dials a phone?
I know. Who calls people anymore? Oh, where were we?
So we are drawing what is actually a step wall. However, since we've labeled that as an Eve, it's still holding that label as we draw.
Yeah, and it seems like it would be cumbersome to have to come all the way over here to change the label manually.
Definitely, we would never do that. Mean.
Well, I want to draw your attention, if I can zoom in on this, to the underlined letter of each label.
Mm-hmm.
U, E, R for rake, I for ridge, H for hip, V for valley, S for step, W for wall, P for pitch change, and D for delete.
Mm-hmm.
So the only one that presented a problem was rake and ridge. We had to pick one to get R.
That's right.
Well, I want this to be a step wall. So the underlined letter is a hotkey on your keyboard. Just press the letter and it will change the assigned label.
Oh my gosh.
If you're sketching roofs, even if it's 3 to 5 a day, this is going to save you so much time.
Absolutely.
If you can draw the roof ahead of time using your laptop, using the web app here, because we don't have these hotkeys. There are no hotkeys on mobile. It's all touchscreen. This is going to save a ton of time if you can sketch on your laptop and then do any sort of pins, photos, and notes when you're on site using your iPad or your iPhone. This is definitely going to save up some time.
Absolutely.
So as I come down the hip, I've changed it to hip. Then I can immediately hit the E key and change it over to an E. Come all the way over. 90 mode is going to make it nice and straight. I'm going to continue with an Eve up this side. 90 mode is going to find that corresponding point all the way over on the left side so that my overhangs are even. Then I can change it to a step again. And I would probably take a second to balance these. I'm going to guess it's, I didn't look at the measurement on the right, but it's probably right around 7 feet. And before I connect them, 7.7. So I like to come in and balance these. I'll drag it out to 7.7. and then this last line here is a wall. Now, you may still occasionally need to come back to edges if you need to define some of your submaterial items, subline labels. I want ice and water shield and apron flashing on that wall. I also want ice and water shield and new step flashing at these step walls. So there, now we have those added in.
Awesome.
I can't click the done button, Katrina, until I have pitch on all of these slopes, and since we've just drawn in that front porch area, I'll need to put the 412s back in on that.
Perfect.
So we'll go ahead and grab the 4s, and we'll put those in. We'll have another video coming out here in the near future that will discuss the complexities, really the simplicities of labeling up your dormers so that you get accurate measurements. This is one of my favorite projects to look at because it does take into account using our dormer label feature. We won't go into that. It's not anything that's really changed, but we're going to do a more in-depth tutorial video on that, which you guys will see in the near future.
One thing I do want to point out real quick before we navigate away.
Yeah.
So previous to this, you had links to your secondary imagery in the drawing menu, and we've just moved those so that no matter which mode you're in, you have access to these secondary views with some additional imagery to kind of reference, especially if you're drawing this stuff remotely.
If I remember right, they were here in the draw window on the right.
Yep. So that way, if you were in facets and we're like, you know what, I need to see what's going on in the back of this roof.
Yep.
We didn't want you to have to navigate all the way back out to the draw mode, so we just bumped those up so it's readily accessible to you.
So this giant G is going to open up your Google imagery so that you can look at Street View or their 3D view. And then, of course, this is to open up Bing's imagery where you can do the same for the most part. All right, I think we're good to go ahead and click on the done button.
Yes.
It's going to save, of course, it's going to suggest a new waste cutting percentage based on that new information. I'm going to say yes. Waste calculation from RoofSnap does prioritize the, or I guess specify that it's an architectural shingle installation with single cut valley. If you're doing tile, if you're doing slate, if you're doing anything that's not an architectural shingle, please come into the measurements tab and define the appropriate waste percentage for the type of roof system that you're installing based on the style of roof that you've just measured.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go over to documents.
Now we can see this beautiful sketch report with all of our notes and photos from our pin.
Yep.
Nice little site map there on the bottom.
Yep, from a sketch that took a third of the amount of time it would have 2 years ago, before we had 90 mode, before we had before we had hotkeys and line labeling while drawing options.
Oh, man.
And we didn't take away your ability to still draw it all with yellow lines and go back and label. You know, I don't, sometimes if it isn't broke, don't fix it or don't make a change. So if you've been sketching and you're comfortable drawing out all the yellow lines and then going back and labeling them,
you don't
and
have
that's
to
your
change.
if that's your preferred method, please feel free. All right, so here's the sketch report for this address. And of course, we have all of our category measurements because we used the subline labels to account for ice and water shield, eve edge, so our designation for drip edge metal, step, and apron metal as well. Breakdown of each section by area. And then the assessment page. So this is really great. It's like a site map of where all the stuff goes. You can give this to your production team. That way they know where the damage is, which section of the roof had hail damage, where the soil pipe boot is in relationship to the front of the house, the back of the house, and so forth and so on. And then all of the notes and photos that you attach to pins will show up on this document as well. And I think is it 2 or is it 3 images per page?
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3.
I think it's 3.
additionally, any pins that don't have photos or notes will just display without them in order.
Yep.
And each pin is numbered as it exists on the roof, and so they will display in the order in which they were placed on the roof.
Exactly.
I've
Awesome.
seen reports with 50, 60 inspection photos.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just 20, 30 pages long.
Oh, yeah.
So you can really go to town. If you need to capture a lot of information, especially if this is related to storm damage, and you are providing information to the homeowner or maybe to the adjuster. Again, I'm not sure how all that's going to work. Every state has different criteria and so forth. This document is really going to come in handy. Just as kind of a last thought with regard to pins, if you are using RoofSnap for measurements, and maybe you're already inspecting the roof using pins, spend some time in 2019 taking a look at RoofSnap's estimating platform.
Yes.
If you haven't
please.
already adopted it, it's amazing. One of the coolest things that it does is it will pre-populate the first estimate or really the beginning of every estimate with any accessories that you pin to the roof. So that plumbing boot, it's automatically added. Of course, you customize your labor and material and markup for every item. And there's a sort of a materials manager account setup thing that we will help you with if you'd like to take a look at using RoofSnap for being an estimating solution for your company this year. Give us a call.
Yes, please. Love to sit down with you and figure out what's going to work.
Katrina, one other feature comes to mind.
Yes.
You know where I'm going?
I do.
All right. I'm sick today, and I'm supposed to run this lead.
Okay.
And I'm a salesman. And my sales manager, he that appointment still has to be run, so maybe he's going to run it, or maybe he's going to get one of my colleagues to go out and run it.
Yep.
And I already spent time last night sketching this roof.
Man, it's a beautiful sketched roof.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste that.
Or maybe I didn't draw it. Sorry, I don't know why I like putting the long stories together. You guys don't have time for my long stories. But in reality, maybe you placed the order through our sketch ordering service and you've already paid for it. And that roof was, I don't know, that roof's probably $35. Well, the salesman who's sick, he's not going to run the lead. Maybe you have to give that lead to somebody else. And this project is owned by me, the sick salesman. Well, we've got some solutions for that.
That's right.
Go for it, Katrina.
So now on the web app, you are able to give a project to someone else in its entirety, or share a project with someone else. A couple different use cases for that. If you give a project, it will leave your list and exist in the user's project list that you give it to. If you share, you can share with multiple people, and you all have access to that project.
Yep. And that's dead on. So if you're an admin, of course, you can always access the projects of other users, but it won't be assigned to you anymore, and it won't appear when you filter as yourself. Only if you filter as another user. So it's kind of up to you when sharing versus giving makes the most sense. And we'll let you pick. But the process is pretty much the same. Let's start by sharing. Katrina, I'm going to share this project with you.
Great.
Because I'm going to assume you are going to run this appointment for me.
I gotcha.
So we just click on the user we want to share it to, and then click on the Done button. And now when she logs in on any device, she will have access to that project, and it will show up in her list. If you come back and click on the share button again, you can unshare and reshare with somebody else. And I will just go ahead and have it not shared with anybody. The give function is pretty much the same, but as soon as I click on this give button, it's gone. I can't ungive it, and I can never give it back. Once there's no reverse giving.
That's a beautiful sketch.
It's
You
not
can go ahead
allowed.
and give that
Do you
to
want
me.
that?
Yeah.
You better send it back. Will you share it with me?
I'll share it with you.
Okay. And we're both admins, so it's all right. So yeah, I really hope that you guys are going to benefit from these added features. It's all about saving you time. RoofSnap's dedication is to safety, but really making you more efficient.
Yep.
We want to help you streamline your processes.
Yes.
Utilize technology to the extent that it makes sense. We don't ever want to impose a technical solution that is more tedious or more time consuming than tried and true methods. Sometimes you still need a tape measure.
Yep. Just reality.
Yep. That being said, if you're still using Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and typing out long scopes of proposals and tediously entering in measurement data into Excel fields,
you don't have
talk to me and Katrina. We will save you time. There is a modest setup commitment on the front end. Spending a little time getting your pricing into RoofSnap, spend a little time uploading your logo, things like that, but not more than a few hours for most customers of your typical size, for most roofing companies.
Yep.
And that being said, I'd like to turn it back over to Katrina because we do have it's a section of our live webinar where we like to talk about a sneak peek, which usually involves a visual. We're not quite ready to show the visual,
Nope.
but we can talk about a new, larger feature that is on the, I can't think of an expression here, on the horizon. There, like that, like the horizon.
Let's transition over so they can
Yeah?
see our faces.
Let's bring our faces back. Well, they could still see our tiny little faces as they existed down there in the corner.
Yeah, but I got to see all our customer faces in real life, in real size, and I really enjoyed that. So I can only assume they feel the same. So as you mentioned, we usually like to do a little bit of a sneak peek. We don't have anything to peek at, but we will allude to some exciting features coming up here in the near future. One of the things is kind of the ability to, track your project from maybe one state to the next, or the pipeline, the sales process.
Yeah, if I had to give it a name, it would be sort of a digital production board. Now, for those of you who have used the big white board, maybe even with a magnetic backing so that you can move cards. I mean, that was the way we did it back in the early 2000s, maybe even in the late 90s, before I started working in the roofing industry. It has modernized. Certainly there are many CRMs that have, what are they called, can boards or something like that, where you can move things down. We're going to be releasing our version of the project board with features where you'll be able to filter and view and move items into different columns and actually have those items be updated. We haven't really gotten to a point where we're ready to talk about all the individual features that will be available, but for you, for those of you who are project managers, sales managers, owners of the company, to be able to see what's going on in a sort of a summary type view. Think of it as like, if you're familiar with Trello, raise your hand if you're familiar with Trello. It's it'll have a bit of a feel like Trello, but it'll all be plugged in to your data in RoofSnap. So as you interact with the cards, I don't know, what would we call them? Files, tiles.
Figure it out.
The vernacular's not all there yet, but as soon as we have the words, we'll go into more detail.
Yeah, and that being said, I'm glad you mentioned just kind of new ideas, new features, and as we expand, one of the things I wanted to touch on was hearing feedback on different systems that you guys use. So one of the things that RoofSnap is really interested in hearing about are what are the other programs, some of the other industry partners that you're utilizing right now in your business, and how we can kind of play nice with everybody in the space. So feedback that I would like to have personally, and please feel free to give me a call directly. I want to know what other softwares you guys are using, so we can kind of expand our integration conversations.
Yes, absolutely. We have many conversations of integrations happening, especially right after trade show season. We get along so well with pretty much every roofing software provider, and a lot of them are CRM type platforms.
So we would really love to know
How is it
what
even possible?
what systems you guys are using, what would bring you the most value into having your different programs work together. So please, please, please let us know. Email us at support@roofsnap.com. Email me directly at katrina@roofsnap.com. Give us a call at our support line, 877-766-3762. Sorry, I'm watching Jason struggle here with setting this camera back up.
Oh, mercy me.
Oh,
Well, the
goodness.
good news is, Katrina, I switched over the source, so all they can
Oh,
see
good.
of me right now is a tiny little webcam
Okay.
coming in from the bottom.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, that's and I blame Josh.
Aw, poor
I
Josh.
blame Josh. He's our producer for this. He set up this camera. He did a really good job making sure it was straight and level before we started.
That's right.
No, he did, really. I wasn't being sarcastic. It's just that it's so precariously balanced up here that getting it back the way he had it,
It's kind of impossible.
honestly, I'm just going to hold it. I'm just going to hold it right here, and you can transition back over. That way they can see
And
us.
it'll just be me.
Yeah, it'll just be, and I'll
All right.
wave.
Hi, guys.
All right.
Yes, but as I was saying, please let us know what brings you value, what things you'd like to see in 2019. We've got a lot of great things on our horizon, and we'd love to hear from you and hear what you guys need and what you want, because ultimately that's what we're here to provide. So,
Absolutely. All right. I don't know. Can I
Can
come around?
you do a selfie here?
Yeah, there we go. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. Sorry, it wouldn't be a RoofSnap live webinar without a few technical issues. But yeah, we've really enjoyed sharing this information with you guys today. And there we go. There we go. And we definitely hope you'll join us in another month or so when we have more features and more information to bring your way.
And in the meantime, we'd love to hear from you. So reach out to us. Your voices are definitely heard.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.